Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and it's official. The War Within Season 2 is beginning March 4th, and Season 1 is concluding on February 25th. So make sure you get your limited time rewards before they are gone forever. In today's video, we're going to be covering some of the main features and focus points that Blizzard has decided to pinpoint in on with Season 2 and patch 11.1, because obviously Season 1 was very hectic, and it had a lot of problems and had a lot of negative feedback, and we saw a downturn and a downward trend in basically all content of the game. And in this patch, they're looking to restore it. So we're going to be looking at exactly what those features are. And if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with anything related to World of Warcraft, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. So as we scroll down Blizzard's post, they start talking about the new content, the new ahead of the curve, the new cutting edge, and the new rewards for the Raid, Mythic Plus, and PvP. And they smartly so show the new elite set for Monk, which is basically a Super Saiyan, and I already leveled my Monk, got him ready to go, because I think that Monk is going to be really rad in this patch. Mistweaver more so for PvP, but I leveled as Brewmaster, and maybe I'm going to give a dabble at being a tank for Mythic Plus a little bit with some of the changes that are coming in for PvE. Obviously, the new raid is the Liberation of Undermine, and they've got this 6-shot of the Goblin tank just pulling up behind this little Goblin gal. And this raid looks really hectic. It looks really fun, but the main focus that they've had for the raid is reducing the impact of add-ons. So I'm really expecting that the difficulty of this raid is likely going to be lower than previous ones, as that would then reduce the likelihood that you're going to need an add-on if it's overly complex with a ton of different mechanics. And they have updated a lot of new animations as well in the raid to be a lot more readable on the screen. There's no longer kind of just vague swirly lines. They're all very defined lines for mechanics to avoid, and it looks honestly like a good time. And there's been a lot of really cool mounts that are coming from this, with like the Mecha Dino that's honestly getting even me, as somebody who doesn't normally raid, more interested in it. So I think that the raid and all those changes, as long as they can hit the tuning right on it, is going to be a remarkable experience. And this is an 8-boss raid that is going to unlock 1 week after the Undermine patch has been released, and they cover some of the item level that's going along with this, but that's a little bit more details than I think we need to cover in this video. There's obviously a new dungeon coming with Operation Floodgate, so we are going to be trying to prevent this from occurring. And it looked like a crazy dungeon. It looked like an absolutely crazy dungeon from the testing and the Mythic Plus content creators that I have seen so far for it, with these goblin shredders just cutting up and bandsawing everything with huge mechanics like that. It looks like a crazy one, to say the least. So I'm very excited to see how it plays out with this one coming forward for 11.1, and it's the same deal as the raid. They've tried to focus on limiting the amount of add-ons that really feel like are required, and focused in on improving the animations to make them more readable for a broader audience, to try and encourage players to not be as punished as they may have been to mechanics in previous tiers. And I think that they are looking at a lot of like tank buster mechanics and trying to make it so that tanks are just getting one shot or nothing's happening, basically, because then your whole group falls apart, and then you got to go back in LFG, and then that whole process is, it's a spiral downward. So their goal, I think, is, again, reining in the difficulty, reducing the likelihood of some of those really punishing types of mechanics, to make the dungeon and the dungeon pool a lot smoother of an experience than it was previously. There's obviously a new dungeon rotation with Operation Floodgate, of course, Cinder Brew Meadery, which I thought was going to be a really good Mythic Plus dungeon that wasn't included in the first cycle. This is with the bees and everything like that. It's got a ton of trash that you can pull. The Rookery, Dark Flame Cleft, Priory of the Sacred Flame, the Motherlode's coming back from Battle for Azeroth, Mechagon is coming from Battle for Azeroth, and Theater of Pain, which a lot of players have been criticizing because not very many people had a lot of fun with this. Curious to see if they can rein in some of the problems that it had historically and maybe make it a new favorite dungeon for this patch. That's being optimistic. Okay, I'm being optimistic. There are new mounts as well. They're really trying to incentivize Mythic Plus. They're bringing in this enterprising shredder tank, which is going to be another mount that you're able to earn, completing higher and higher level keystone difficulties. And you can just see all of the achievements that are listed out here, right? Just completing a dungeon. Completing a dungeon and attaining 1500 rating will earn you a title. Attaining 2000 rating will earn the Crimson Shredder tank. Attaining 2500 rating will get you an achievement. Attaining 3000 rating will get you the Enterprising Shredder. So you got to get a little bit high to get this one. And then obviously the end of the war within Season 2 is going to be the top 0.1% rewards, being the Enterprising Hero. Enterprising Gladiator would have been cool. I actually kind of wonder if they ended up going with that or not, but that's going to be the structure for it. So they've lumped in even more rewards to try and incentivize people from that bubble point where players tend to kind of quit out at, to keep going a little bit higher than they would have otherwise, is I think what the point of this mount is. And I'm really hoping that in the future we're going to get updates like this for PvP as well, because even in PvP you've got those dead zones where a lot of players get to a certain goal and they're like, everything else seems like too much work to go for, so I'm just not going to bother. I'm going to stop here, take what I got, and then go do something else. So I think that's the main point of this mount, is to try and keep that curve going, so it's not just, oh, everybody's gone and no one's playing anymore once it reaches a certain level of difficulty. And then the Keystone Heroes as well for completing above level 10s. The affixes, the new Xal'atath's Bargain Pulsar. While in combat, Xal'atath will summon pulsars that orbit players and must be intercepted within the time limit. Xal'atath's Guise will cause Keystones above level 12 to increase health and damage of enemies by 12% per level. And Xal'atath's Bargain Voidbound. Dark Prayer is no longer a channel, and the Void Emissary no longer grants damage reduction to creatures while active. Dark Prayer now has a 15-second cast time and grants all nearby creatures in combat Xal'atath's gift when it finishes casting. The potency of Xal'atath's gifts granted by Dark Prayer is based on the remaining shield percentage of the Void Emissary. So trying to create more interactive affixes. They're also removing the death punishment, so when you die it's not going to negatively affect you. They went all out on listening to the community feedback on trying to make this patch as great as possible for Mythic Plus. And I should have mentioned also for Raid that they got the new Renown track with a bunch of cool rewards that are coming through for that, to try and keep players coming back week after week, so that the guild masters don't have to constantly deal with refilling their roster. So they're really pushing it here with 11.1 in their systems to try and bump up the numbers from season 1. Obviously there are going to be new delves as well if you're just a solo PvE player, and there's going to be Excavation Site 9 and Side Street Sleuth, obviously focused around the new goblin zones in the Undermine with a little bit of a void tint on one, and then more of kind of like a cartel shifty kind of goblin-esque side with the Side Street Sluice. So these are going to be 2 new delves to be able to check out. And there's going to be also new rewards that come with those delves, obviously. You probably want to make sure that you're getting the delve reward from Zekvir. That's something that I've actually got to kind of go after before it's gone, because they have seasonal rewards as well for delves. And then they're going to be bringing in the new, basically, kind of delve mount to go after for the next season, which I'm sure is going to have equally as difficult of a challenge in order to earn the highest rank of that reward. And you can see the progress as it goes through. As you move through season 2 of delves, you'll just get more and more rewards. I mean, just like it's so many rewards. You get so many rewards for delves, just tons, just absolutely out the wazoo. So if you're a solo player, absolutely seems like a great time to check it out. When we look at season 2 for PvP, we've got the new arena coming in, the Cage of Carnage, which you kind of fall out of the sky from this balcony, and it's kind of Blade's Edge Arena-esque with a bridge that's much lower to the ground. I'm sure classes can like double jump up this with pillars off to the side and pillars on the backside, so it's like a slight alteration to what the Blade's Edge Arena map was. And Blade's Edge Arena has been taken out of the pool for some time because it was bugged, because you get feared under the ground and you could just fall forever. But this is looking like almost like a substitute to that, although probably less punishing, I would think, towards melee DPS. For new rewards, the Gladiator mount, which has been one of the more controversial ones. It looks like a green tinted version of the bat from the previous season for season 1. And then also we got the electric eels for Horde and Alliance, the red and blue electric eels. And these are the vicious mount. And you want to know something interesting is I looked up the stats for these mounts. The Gladiator mount for season 1 is currently less than 1% of all the accounts, but even the vicious mount is also less than 1%. It's almost exactly equal. The number of players that have the vicious mount is almost equal to the Gladiator mount, which based on supply and demand basically means they're the same mount. And all you need to do to get this vicious mount is be 1,000 rating or higher, and then earn enough conquest, basically, I think, throughout the season, and you'll get this mount, which I thought was really crazy. It was crazy that these were both equally less than 1% from season 1. I feel like something maybe needs to be looked into as far as that, because this is supposed to be kind of just like the chill participation reward. If we're at the end of the season and less than 1% of the player base has it, that's not really the chill kind of participation mount as you would kind of expect it to be. So I'm curious to see if they can bump those numbers up. For Solo Shuffle, they're bringing in the Prized Legends Pennant. So Prized is looking to be the title of the season. For Battlegrounds, you can get, so for Prized Legend, or you can get Prized Strategist for Battleground Blitz. We've got obviously PvP class armor sets, which are all just the recolors of the existing tier sets, although this tiers of sets definitely looks really cool for a lot of classes, one that I'm eagerly waiting to come out so I can go and farm them. And then they've got the rating distribution on how far you need to advance. Remember at the beginning of the War Within, they kind of split out the rewards to lower thresholds, so you can get actually more rewards without getting as high of a rating as you would have needed to previously. And it seems like the layout is generally the same here for Season 2, so you're going to be able to go after basically the same level of rewards that was available from Season 1. And there's a new world boss, which I had not seen yet, called the Gob Father. He's a giant mech suit with his giant shark face and a drill hand and some sort of rocket propelled arm. And he's in the Demolition Dome, a pinnacle of goblin innovation. He looks really cool, honestly. And I think I'm really excited to try out the new drive features that are coming in this patch. We get the really fast car, and I'm really hoping they've incorporated world PvP interactions, even if it's as simple as like the whirling surge on your dragon where you can knock an enemy off their mount. I want to be able to crash into people's cars and blast them off and then go and attack them in world PvP, considering the zone is going to be no flying. So I'm really hoping they added some type of interaction between vehicles with players with war mode on, whether it's shooting red turtle shells at each other to knock each other out of our mounts or something. I'm really hoping there's going to be something for that. And he's obviously going to drop a huge slew of loot, and they've updated all of the rating to go along with all of the content that is obviously available in this patch. And they say, see you in the Undermine. Now, I had seen a stat recently for Final Fantasy, which is another competitive MMORPG with World of Warcraft. Apparently, they've lost 75% of their player base at this point in time. So I don't even think it's just World of Warcraft. MMORPGs in general are really starting to see their populations get siphoned. So hopefully with 11.1 and all of the improvements that they're aiming to make with it, especially for Mythic Plus and rating, it's going to be a healthier season than Season 1. For PvP, we still don't see any overhauls to the ranking system or the rewards. However, for their track for the remainder of the year, they did list that on a future patch they would be looking at rewards. So hopefully with enough feedback towards that, we're going to see some major updates for that, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the case, unfortunately, for this season. So other than that, thank you guys very much for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this update and this discussion, and I will see you in the next one.